Good evening everyone and welcome to the Chrissy B Show. Now I like to see people happy, but one thing that makes people stuck in life and feel that they are not able to move on is the death of a loved one. Whether the death is sudden or expected, some people seem to die along with the deceased and can't find the strength to move on. So here on the Chrissy B Show, we don't want you to be unhappy, we don't want you to be depressed, so we'll be equipping you tonight with ways to move on and still have a bright future regardless of what's happened. But if you want to get in touch with your questions or comments, please do email chris@chrissybshow.tv or you can Facebook on The Chrissy B Show. My guests tonight are Helen K. Ems, author, mentor and speaker, and Shelley Gilbert, psychotherapist and founder CEO of Grief Encounter. And of course, as we do every Wednesday, we'll be joined by Chris Barron, our resident self-development coach, to give us some great advice like he normally does. And we'll also be featuring a places to visit later on as well. So first of all, I'd like to welcome Helen. Hi Helen, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay, so death isn't normally something that people like to talk about, and I hope no one's actually switched off, because sometimes, you know, it's a subject people want to avoid, but at the end of the day, we're all going to face it one day, and also we're going to have loved ones that are going to pass on. So it's something that we need to learn how to deal with, isn't it? Yes,
I think that's absolutely right. We all know we're going to die. Mm-hmm. You know, there's no escaping that. We know that in our mind. We know that, but for some reason we don't connect with that. We still like to put it to one side, as you say, and hope that it's not going to happen, and certainly hope that it's not going to happen to someone that we love, who we then are left behind, and especially, you know, if that person happens to be our child, that's, you know, a tougher challenge to face. So
this is something you've been through quite recently, isn't it?
With your yes, mother. You know, I had my own experience with my mother, who was diagnosed last year with a brain tumour in March, which came as a complete. It came as a shock. It wasn't a surprise insofar as actually she had been poorly for a couple of months, and in fact she was misdiagnosed with stress. So we actually thought she was suffering with stress, and eventually managed to get her into hospital because we thought she was having a stroke. And it was at that point in time, thankfully, they did a scan and found out that it wasn't a stroke. It was a brain tumour, and it was an aggressive brain tumour. It was a shock. It was a shock to find out that Mum was dying. It wasn't a shock that she was poorly, because that was becoming increasingly obvious. The deterioration was quite significant within 2 months. But to then find out that actually she had now been given effectively a death sentence, because when you're told you have a terminal illness, that's what it is. It's a death sentence. Without knowing the timescales of that, that is a shock. You know, you find out that all of a sudden the person that you thought was going to be around for a long time, because you have longevity in your family. Mum was in good health prior to becoming poorly. She played golf. She was very fit, and all of a sudden you're thrust into this space that says that's not going to happen anymore. So accepting that fact, accepting the fact that that's not going to happen anymore, accepting that change that has to now take place, is a really, really big part of accepting the process of death and dying. And I think that's where some people perhaps struggle, is in the acceptance of that. You know, it's not what we want. And I think that's the key thing. We get so caught up in this world with what we want is really important, and what we want we must try to achieve. But as far as death and dying is concerned, it doesn't matter what we want.
How did you keep it together, both of you? First you as the daughter and your mum, because I'm sure obviously it was a shock to her as well. She
massively.
So how did you both deal with it?
And you know, I sat with Mum as the consultant was telling her, and I mean, God bless her. She was actually an amazing woman, and I think this is something. If you're fortunate enough to be in the position I was in, which is to have time, which sometimes people aren't. If you're fortunate enough to do that, you start to see people differently. And I saw actually how amazing my mother was, how strong she was. She was sitting in the bed being told that she was going to die. She did register that fact and immediately went into planning mode, immediately went into pragmatic mode. Right, we're going to fight this, right, we're going to do this. And that was very typical of Mum. You know, she wanted to put a plan together to be able to take as much time as she could And that was the first response. But then when I went back the next day, she was, I think, more emotional. Yeah. So the emotions were starting to sort of like register the reality of it. And, you know, she said to me, I don't want to die. I have too much to live for. And I think that type of comment coming from your mother is really, really challenging, because no, she didn't want to die. No, she did have so much to live for. And, you know, when you see that's being taken away from somebody, it's, you know, you've got two ways to go with it, really. You can either go with that emotional experience and feel that pain with her, or go with the acceptance of the situation and make the best out of where you're at that point in time.
And that's what you actually teach people, and like, you know, when you do your speaking and everything, you'll teach people how to basically make the most of the time, and also see death in a different way. Because the thing is, if we do see it all bad, because let's face it, when people think death, they think, oh my God, it's depressing, it's bad. But there's another way of looking at things that can really help. Can you tell us about that?
Well, I think the problem with when we see it as bad news, when we see it as a problem, we as you said in the first instance, we hide from it. We don't want to talk about it, and that in itself is very destructive, because it doesn't allow us to express how we're feeling, what we're thinking. It doesn't allow us to get closure with situations that we need to get closure with. It doesn't allow us to say the things that we wished we had said. You know, and as I said, if you're fortunate enough to be able to share time with someone before they go, it does give you that time to do that. If you don't get the opportunity to have that time, then it's an act that you must participate in yourself and go through the process yourself, you know, of accepting the situation, because you don't have the chance to talk to that person. You know,
so your mother died, when was it?
My mother died the 20th of September last year, so we're coming up to the first year of her not being around physically. Okay, but you know, at the end of the day, my philosophy is she's a part of me, and I'm a part of her. So, you know, while you could say what a part of me died when she died, a huge part of her lives on through me, and therefore lives on through my daughter, because of the way that I'm bringing her up is, you know, part of my mother's philosophy comes through that. So we're all connected, and everybody Mum touched, she's living on through them. So I think this is where we can see the joy in life. And because Mum existed, lots of other things have happened that wouldn't have happened if she hadn't, including me and including my family and you know, my interactions and things. So I think it's when we see ourselves as connected in that way, it really helps us to start to celebrate that person's life.
It's a great way of looking at things, and you know, we should celebrate, you know, our time with the people that we love that have passed on. But there are people that really can't cope, and let's take this particular email from Wati now, see what this person has to say.
Hi Chris, we have an email for Helen. Our viewer would like to know, I lost my husband just a week ago. I feel like I can't go on. I can't find anything or anyone to comfort me. Nothing helps. I have no idea how I will get through it. He was my world. We were together nearly 25 years. I'm in so much pain, it feels unbearable. People say it gets better. But how? How can it be better when my husband is gone forever? I feel like my life is over and there will never be any happiness again. How can we help, Helen?
25 years is a huge amount of time to spend one-on-one effectively with someone and build a connection. And through that connection that you have with that person, of course, you have a great deal of love, but you also have a great deal of need and dependency and an interlinking with each other. And because of that, that's where quite a lot of the pain comes through, because that dependency has now been broken, that other person is not present. Now, 1 week is a very, very short space of time, very short space of time, and especially I don't know the circumstances around this, whether this lady had notice in terms of, you know, a terminal illness, or whether it was a sudden thing. So this lady, bless you, my darling, you know, is still in shock as well. Now, shock brings fear with it. So if we're in shock and experiencing fear, then it becomes very difficult for us to see how to cope. Time heals. There is no doubt that time heals. But it's also about managing as much as possible your thought processes and your emotional experiences around this. So, you know, whatever you're experiencing at any moment in time, embrace it insofar as you can, rather than try to resist it. You know, because emotionally we have to allow those emotions to flow through us. Shock is a very strong feeling. Allow it to flow. And
when
try
you say to flow, do you mean like also to let it out, but also to talk to someone about
yeah,
it?
Yes. If this lady feels she can talk to somebody, sometimes, again, you know, depending on her own personal experiences, sometimes she can't. She might not be able to talk, but if she can't talk, maybe she could write. So sometimes just writing how she's feeling, you know, might help move her forwards. Yeah. But first of all, I think it's really about the engagement with those feelings, and not worrying about those feelings, not thinking that they're wrong. And because that's really important. I think sometimes we try to avoid the negative feelings, and if we try to avoid them, we give them more energy. So if we give them more energy, then they hang around longer.
It's about facing them.
It's about facing them. It's about being okay with them. Okay, you've just lost someone who you spent 25 years with, who you have a very, very strong bond with. So you know the sadness is potentially going to be quite strong. And I always encourage people to think of sadness as a connection to the heart. And so therefore, if she can try to elevate her husband into her heart and stay connected with him, even though he's not physically present, and look at all that they shared together, rather than all that is now going to be missed, and just keep her mind on those types of thoughts, then that's going to help.
Because as well, some people don't even have that opportunity sometimes, do they? They maybe didn't have a husband that they didn't get married, or they didn't have that opportunity to be with someone that long.
Yeah, so the things that they had, rather than the things that they don't have. Now, I think she's also got to allow herself a little bit of time as well within that, because it's a very, very early part of that experience, really. You know, if I think about my time, the shock, 3 or 4 days of shock, even knowing mum wasn't well. So again, depending on the circumstances, there's a bit of a journey to go. But please try not to avoid the negative emotions. Please allow them to flow, but look for the things that you can celebrate, i.e. that you can be grateful for, that you shared together, and hold those things in your heart so that you can feel the love that you had.
Okay.
And I realise there's some practical things as well that obviously, you know, when somebody parts, there's practical stuff that needs sorting, which again can add to the fear. So I think talking to somebody about the practicalities as well, obviously is going to help that.
Okay. Now, just before you go, Helen, as well, can you tell us a bit about the book that you wrote? Because I just wanted to read a little poem from it as well. If I read that first, and you can tell us about why you wrote this particular book. It says, "Please just hold my hand. When facing my hostility, please concede with grace. When facing my frustrations, please give me time and space. When I'm feeling joyful, please celebrate like it was planned. And when I'm facing the end, please just hold my hand." It's a beautiful poem.
Thank you.
So tell us why the book.
That poem was inspired actually by one of Mum's next door neighbours, who was a lady who really exemplified a huge amount of compassion. And what I learned from her and from the experience with Mum is sometimes there isn't a problem to be solved. Sometimes just being present with that person's experience is healing in itself. Because we live in a world, and you know, I had a particular role with Mum where I would always solve problems for her. So I'd always be the one, the oldest of all the children. So I'd always be the one who'd come in and rescue and you know, sort things out and make things good again. And sometimes you can't do that. And when somebody has a terminal illness, you can't solve the problem. You know, and that takes quite a lot of self-acceptance of saying, "Whoa, hang on, I have to now sit and support as much as I can, but I can't solve this problem." And that's a powerful lesson for us all in terms of being able to let go of something that we can't actually solve.
Helen, I'm so sorry we've run out of time now, but I think I know it's so quick. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the show tonight. It was really helpful. Thank you very much. Okay, so after the break, we'll be speaking to Shelley Gilbert, who is also going to be speaking to us more about the children aspect of things and about her charity as well, and how also you can break the news of someone dying to a child as well, and how to help them cope with it. So stay tuned and we'll be back after this. Back to the Chrissy B Show. To introduce my next guest, let's take a look at this video.
Dear Daddy, dear Mummy,
Dear Mum,
I miss you so much. You're the best mum anyone could ever have. You are the best daddy in the world.
I love you billions and billions and billions, and I'll love you forever.
I just dream of meeting you again. I'd run as fast as I could just to get to you.
I keep your smile with me, and it makes me happy when I'm sad. You can't imagine how much I miss you. I regret every time I was mean or argued with you. I didn't realise how important you were to me, and I never really did say goodbye. So, goodbye.
Mum, what can I tell you about Grief Encounter? They're always there for me, and we're all there for each other. They don't make me forget you, Mum. They help me remember.
It's a really moving clip. So let's clip, I should say, clip. So let's introduce Shelley now, who is the founder of this great charity. Hi, Shelley. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for putting the really difficult subject of death on the map.
I know. I'm just hoping we still have viewers, but I'm sure we do. I'm sure we do. So it's going to be really helpful for people. So tell us about your charity and how it came about.
Sure. Yeah, it's called Grief Encounter, and we set up in order to help bereaved kids. What happened was that my mum and dad died when I was very young, and I grew up in this conspiracy of silence. I was adopted by my aunt and uncle and actually had quite a happy childhood, but what people didn't acknowledge was the dark side, the lonely tears at night. We just weren't allowed to speak about the person or the people that had died. There were photos around and they were in conversation, but when I say speak, not really speak about them.
Was that like a coping thing for the families?
Yeah, because I think you can understand as an adult now, I understand as an adult, it's to protect me from the pain. They didn't want to upset me. They didn't want to make me cry, but they wouldn't have made me cry because I was crying anyway. It was just a really lonely place to be.
So it does affect, would you say it affects children as much as it does adults, maybe just in a different way?
Yeah, and we don't really give children the opportunity. For my own personal experience was people might say, I'd say, oh, my mum is dead, because she's not picking me up at school. But they've never taken the conversation any further because they were scared. People don't like talking about unpleasant things, and death's probably the most difficult conversation that we'll ever have to have.
Okay, so how would you advise then on how to tell a child or how to help a child through a bereavement then? What's the best way?
Okay. I wanted to make things different for today's bereaved children, put those conversations on the map. So what I did was write a book. I know, not a quick little flash. It's called Grief Encounter. And I thought a few aunties and uncles and friends would buy it and that would be the end of it, because it's such a difficult subject. But what actually happened was the most amazing public reaction. I was really ill prepared. There was a couple of us around that were answering phones.
That's a good problem.
Yeah,
Positive thing.
it was. Yeah.
So what was it like? What was
it was just amazing and quite overwhelming. And also at the time, we got the attention of someone very special, who's now one of our patrons, called Kevin Wells, whose daughter Holly was murdered in Soham.
Okay.
And Kevin said when he read the book, he wept tears of joy and relief, because there's very powerful messages. And the messages in the book go something like, let's give kids and adults permission to grieve. Grieving isn't over in a day or a week or a month, but yet in our society we behave as if it is. The lady from the email before, you know, thinks, you know, a week, you know, time's a healer, and how's she going to get through it, and how can she cope? Well, we'd say small steps. Small steps, you know, just give yourself space and time. And we say the same to the children. You know, the third message, and the very strong, another strong message in the book, is there's this huge pressure on us to move on. But why should you ever move on from the death of a parent, especially when, you know, we're dealing with children, young people? Why should you ever accept? So we use the word adjustment. So giving people permission to grieve, that includes children. Children can't make any opportunities. Don't expect people to be over it in a day or a week or a month. Give them time and space. And to use the word adjustment, not acceptance.
Okay, and this thing about moving on though, obviously we don't want people to be stuck in this, like in a depressive state for years and years. So in that, I think when people maybe sometimes say, you know, you need to move on with your life, they mean it in like a kind way, as in don't be stuck where you are, you know, get on with your life as well. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that they're forgetting about the person, because maybe, I think sometimes people are afraid maybe to move on because they think, oh, I feel guilty for continuing to live when someone that I love so much isn't here anymore.
Absolutely.
So let me just stay where I am and be depressed and be down, because I can't, I feel bad to move on.
Yeah, or you need to feel that pain. You know, sometimes I joke with my widowed mums, you know, I'd say, like, if I could take all your pain away today, would you give it to me? And they go, oh, no. You know, because you want, you know, pain's the price you pay for having loved someone. Some of the old cliches are absolutely spot on. But yeah, stuckness is the key word, and as psychotherapists, that's what we'd look for. We don't want anyone to be stuck, Miss Havisham, in their grief, or Queen Victoria. But to see grief, everyone does grief differently. And to see it as a bigger picture. One little child, there's a quote in the book, said to me once that he saw Mummy crying at the sink, and he said, I saw Mummy crying at the sink and I wasn't bothered, it was fine, because I knew she was crying about Daddy, and that's okay. And it was okay, because, you know, she was crying about Daddy, and she should have been crying about Daddy.
Shelley, tell us about this humour element, because I did see it briefly on your website, and that intrigued me, because a subject like death, people, you can't laugh about things like that. That's really disrespectful, but it's an interesting thing to talk about, and I think it is very helpful for people as well. Can you tell us more about the humour aspect?
Definitely, I certainly think so, and we're just building that part of our website at the moment. We work.
Oh, we're going to get a sneak preview then.
Yeah, yeah, because we work quite closely with comedians, and I mean, I grew up using humour quite a lot, because it makes the person you're talking to feel better as well. Like. There's the Oscar Wilde quote of losing one parent's very sad, but losing two's careless.
That's what I saw. Eventually I shouldn't laugh at that, but then at the same time I was like, why not? Come on, it's like it's a natural part of life, isn't it?
It is a natural part of life, and you don't want to laugh at someone. Yeah. What we want to do, and that's what we do a lot of in our workshops, you know, is have fun and laugh together. Yeah. You know, especially, say, the horrific ends of some people, you know, little kids are witnessing mums with cancer, with drips and blood and all sorts of horrific images. But if at some point we can give them a name, make them laugh, help them along their way, that's definitely part of healing and feeling better.
Okay, let's take an email from Moti as well.
Hi Shelley. A viewer has written in and would like to find out. I'm married and the mother of 3 children. I have been told by my doctors that I have a rare and terminal illness. My husband and children love me and need me, and they do not know that I'm dying because I cannot bring myself to tell them. How can I tell the ones who count on me that I won't be here for them? I love my family and would do anything to keep them from this pain. I don't want my children and my husband to see or feel this pain. Am I doing the right thing? Signed off as dying mom. Tough one.
That is a tough one, yeah.
How do you communicate something like that to your children?
It's a very difficult one. I'm going to speak from two experiences. One, my experience of running the charity, and I'm asked this quite a lot, but as a mum myself, I don't think there's any way I could say goodbye to my children, even knowing what I do. So there's no right or wrong way. However, from the charity point of view, we meet the kids and young people that are left behind, and we have to pick up the pieces. And I know, with another hat on as a bereaved child, that my own mum distanced herself from me when she was dying. I can understand it now, but if only she would have been more forward-thinking and leaving behind the stuff that we know that you know, the dying mum, you, the viewers, can do. And it's about having conversations about conversations. It's about breaking this up into smaller, bite-sized pieces. It's not a whole one big conversation about this is how I feel about dying and yes, I'm scared. It's about leaving little notes around in your own handwriting. We've got something in our grief relief kit, which is a journal, and it's about questions. So you can work through the questions with or on your own, or with the kids. Yeah, okay. It's Mr. Good Grief's one now. This is Mr. Good Grief. You could introduce the children or talk through the puppet. We use it in different ways, and the children have it. They like to take him to bed and talk to him, and perhaps eat with him and use him as a comfort. So conversations could be through him if they're smaller children, perhaps. It's really important to think about the things that no one else would know once you've died, and you're not relying on grandparents, perhaps. For example, your schools, your first love. I know nothing about my mum's history. I don't know what her arms look like, or would have looked like. And they're things that are part of your medical history. I don't know anything about her relationship with my father and how they met. And
these are all kind of questions you have afterwards when you wish you'd asked, kind of thing.
They're all the unfinished business. When you didn't get the opportunity. So, as your earlier guest was talking about, it's about not making it a missed opportunity. Video, film, whatever the new technology is, especially things that smell of you, that you write with your own hand. And to have real conversations, what your wishes are, what you'd like to see your children. You can still parent from wherever you go to.
Okay. And Shelley, just before you go, if people want more information about the charity, what would they need to do? We've got lots more information. First step is to visit the website, www.grieFencounter.org.uk. We've just set up a blog there, so any of your viewers who want to communicate with us, that would be great. Right. Okay.
I can't say we can wave a magic wand. We can't bring the dead person back, which is probably what most people want. If you ask a bereaved kid what they want for Christmas, they don't say a PlayStation. So we can't do that, but we can help the journey.
That's lovely. Thank you so much, Shelley, for
that.
Thank you. Okay, so after the break, we're going to be joined by self-development expert Chris Brown, and we'll also be featuring a lovely place to visit, which Barbara went on. So join us after this. Welcome back to the Chrissy B Show, and I know for some this subject might have been quite heavy, but I think it really does make you think. So if you can think of a family member or a loved one that you've fallen out with, you don't know what's going to happen, you don't know what's around the corner, so why not make peace with that person? Because as we've heard, sometimes we know that a person's going to die, they've been ill for a while, and it's expected, so you have time to make peace with that person, but sometimes things happen suddenly. So imagine the guilt that you will feel if something was to happen all of a sudden, then you haven't made peace with that person. So, let go of grudges, let go of things that maybe you're keeping inside of you. And also, if someone has already died and you didn't get the opportunity to do that, learn from that experience and make peace with the rest of your family members or even friends as well. And also, if you are still grieving as well, put yourself, say, imagine if you were the one that died and you could see your family member crying and being depressed. What would you say to them? Wouldn't you tell them to stop crying? Wouldn't you tell them to move on and have, you know, a happy life because they lived the life that they had, and you want them to be happy as well? So think of it in that perspective. And I know, you know, everyone has an expiry date anyway, don't we? So we're not all going to be here forever. So, but I personally believe in life after death anyway, and I'm not afraid of what's going to happen. And I know, you know, what's to come, but I think some people have that kind of fear because they don't know what death is all about and what's going to happen afterwards. But if you want more on that, if you want to know what my secret is, you can email me on chris@chrissybshow.tv. But now we're going to go to something different. So before we speak to Chris Brown, let's go to our places to visit. And Barbara actually went canal boating all on her own. So let's see what she got up to.
Here we are outside a cafe in Camden Lock, about to go down and get on the Jenny Ring, which is a boat trip, canal boat trip that goes along to Little Venice. And this is the cafe, and this is the entrance to the pickup point, so let's go in. Okay, all right, let's go. It's right before my eyes and I can take it. I imagine this has been here for many years. Really looks like hard work. To do, I am leaving, and this is starting to feel like it's right before my eyes and I can taste it. It's my sweet beginning. I can tell just what you want. Here we've got a bird that's very kindly going around actually picking up all the rubbish. Very peaceful and calming on a sunny day like this. Maybe next year I'll have no time to think about the questions to address. So here we are arriving back at the dock, the pickup point, back in Camden Lock. That was fun. Now we're going to go and check out the market. Why should people come and visit tourists? Why should they come to Camden rather than another part of London? What's good about Camden?
Because nice people, good energy.
So that was the Camden experience. Lovely day out in Camden this afternoon. We've been on the canal boat, then we went to the food market, then we checked out some of the other stalls, clothes stalls and shops. There's so much to do here. As you can see, I'm outside another area of clothes stalls and different gadget stalls and stuff. It's a really fun day out, especially when it's beautiful weather, just like we've had today. It's been a lovely afternoon.
Now, Camden is Barbara's absolute favourite place on earth, or actually not on earth, in England. So if you want to actually catch a glimpse of her, you might want to hang around Camden Town a bit more. Okay, so let's go to Chris. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Chrissy.
How are you?
I am very good. I'm very good. I was actually listening to what you was talking about earlier on when he was talking about death and ending. And I was thinking about what we were going to talk about as well, because a lot of people, when they go through it, it's final. And different people resolve. And some people use it as catalyst to actually spin off and start doing other things.
Yeah, it's true.
So there's a lot of positives in looking at it if someone's actually thinking about it now at this present moment. Because overall, life is very short. You just said it earlier on, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow or whatever. So why live life in the doldrums or live it the way that somebody else wants you to live it, or get into a career that somebody else wants you to get into? Why not live it with the way that you believe that your talent that you was meant to do?
It's so true.
You can really expand
Live
on
your
that.
dreams, right?
Live your dreams, live your dreams. Okay. And I'm sure by tomorrow morning, a lot of people are going to get up and start living their dreams.
Oh, I hope so.
All right, because I've got a great acronym today.
Okay.
And I think when we get to the end of it, we'll know where this one comes from, don't we, right? And what I'll suggest again, if anybody's got pen and paper.
Pen and paper, or iPad.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
One time I was doing a conference and there was a lot of youths there, and I said, get pen and paper, and you could tell what. Yeah, right. I mean, they all took their mobiles out and started going. I thought, oh, okay. Yeah. So get your mobiles out, get your pads out, and that's it.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. Think about the word, the colour, brown. Right. So it's BROWN, and I'll tell you about the last one. We're going to have an E on the end of it for excellence.
Oh, I'm seeing where this is going already.
Excellent.
Chris, brown.
Okay, brown.
Right. Okay.
Right, now, sometimes in life, like I said, you go through the doldrums and all that, but you've got to change your mindset. When you change your mindset, your thinking will direct you in the direction that you need to go. So you've got to put away all the negatives and start thinking about where you want to go. So I'm going to start off with a B. And the B is be expectant when you get up in the morning of good things going to happen to you. Be expectant of miracles happening, crazy things. Be expectant of a lot of good things happening. I mean, I do this myself, you know. I get up and first thing in the morning and I just thank God for it. I'm there, you know, because it's another day, another opportunity to get it right.
Some people didn't even wake up, right?
Some people didn't even wake up this morning. So you've got to really appreciate and grab life straight away in the morning. Be expectant of good things, okay? B.
I think that's, sorry, I have to stop you there because I think that's really important, because how many people wake up really down and really like, oh gosh, I can't even bother to get out of bed, it's another day. But it's true, you should be grateful for that day of life that you have.
Change the mindset.
Yeah.
Great, another day, brilliant. Yeah. And the thing about it, it's another day that if something was wrong the day before, you can forgive, you can let go, you can start again. You've got issues with somebody, sit down, work it out, move on. Be free, do what you need to do. Okay? So let's go into R now. R. Now, when you go on holiday, what do you take with you? Roughly. What do you think?
Toothpaste?
Anybody? Yeah, you pack your toothpaste.
Costume?
Pack your swimming costume, right? You pack a case with the things that you need, right? So think about this. The journey that you're going on, your career, your goal, you need to pack information. So R is to round up enough information you need to go on your journey towards your goal. Round up all the information you need for your journey towards your goal. Now, what do I mean by that? Now, any career, any field you're getting into, it's good to actually speak to those who are ahead of it in the field already. It's good to research information. Look up about the field you're getting into. Round up enough information, because if you went on holiday and you didn't take your bag and you arrived there, you'll be stuck. So think about this, the journey towards your goal. You're on the way, didn't get enough information. Opportunity comes along, you're stuck, right? So round up information, that's what R is.
Is that like about training and things like that?
That's training, that's developing yourself, that's going to seminars as well, right? It's reading information as well that you wouldn't normally read. Because sometimes we stick to the same papers, the same books, the same things, because it's safe. Try something different, expand the mind, read something different, learn something. Yeah. Okay, so let's go to O. Here's one, this is a really good one. Observe greatness. Get a mentor.
That doesn't mean looking at yourself in the mirror, right?
Well, how you perceive yourself,
Eventually.
could do. You could look in the mirror and tell yourself, hey, I'm great, and just get on with it. You know, that's not being big-headed, that's asserting yourself. Right, observe greatness. Observe greatness could be similar to the other one before, asking questions. Get a mentor. Find somebody in the field who's already at the top of their game. Get a mentor to show you, because they've done it. They've made all the mistakes already, so they can guide you in a direction that you go, that you won't make the same mistakes. So it's good to observe greatness, someone who's good at the work that you want to do, and get them as a mentor. Speak to them, ask them questions, find out as much as you can. You think about it, if you're in the top of your game, and somebody comes along and wants to know how to get into it, what are you going to do? You're going to share it. It's a compliment at the end of the day. So
if you don't feel threatened by them, that is.
Well, if you don't feel threatened by them. Well,
future competitor.
Well, the thing about it, I think if someone is threatened by them, chances are they're not really at the top of their game. They're probably at the top of their game by name, but not inside of them. You know, that's why I see it as a threat. Yeah. Okay. So that's O. All right, let's go with W. Winner's mentality. I love this one. Adopt a winner's mentality. W. Winner's mentality. Think about this. If we're at a time now, we're talking about what's going on in sports. Paramedics, yeah? Okay, Paralympics. I watched that the other day and I thought that was brilliant. It really inspired me as well, because many people go through situations and they think, well, that's it. But they've actually visualized, they see where they want to be, and nothing is going to stop them from winning. Now, it's not only that, if you're in any kind of athletics as well, those athletes have got to vision themselves on that rostrum receiving that goal already. So the winner's mentality, do not give up on anything that you're doing. Do not give up. Adopt a winner's mentality, right? It's when you've given up, that's when you've actually lost. So keep trying other avenues as well at the same time, right? Now, we got N. Nothing less than your best, right? Nothing less than your best. So whatever you're getting into, give it 100%. Because sometimes we turn around and say, well, have you really tried? And you say, how many ways have you tried? And I've had this in a workshop that I run. I asked a gentleman when I was asking him, how many ways have you tried? And he said, oh, Chris, I've tried hundreds of ways. I said, great, well, we could write them down. And he only came up with about 3 or 4 at the end of the day.
People say that all the time, that I've done everything I could.
But do we really? So you've got to be honest with yourself, because you can't lie to you. Give yourself 100% in whatever you get into. So nothing less than your best. And go back to that mirror, like you said, and ask yourself, did I do my best? Yeah? Okay,
and the last one.
Here we go, the last one. I like this one as well. I think I like a lot of them, don't I? All right, last one, E, excellence. Have a spirit of excellence. Be an example. Be an example. Have that spirit of excellence. Now, in having that spirit of excellence, everything you do, you've got to do it with that extra bit on top. Not halfway, part way, spirit of excellence all the way through. Now, think about this. There's other people going through the same field who's trying as well. Use that spirit of excellence. You'll push yourself further, and you yourself will be able to give advice and help somebody else who was in a position that you were in before. So we share it. That's it. So there you go. Brown. B-R-O-W-N. E for excellence.
Which just happens to be his surname, if you haven't sussed that out.
Oh, yes.
Chris Brown.
Chris Brown.
Great.
That's it.
Chris, thank you so much.
Thank you very much,
That's
Chrissy.
really, really helpful, and I hope you've all written it down on your iPads or your iPhones or whatever it is that you're using.
You can see it on my Facebook as well.
Yeah, it's on your Facebook.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
What's the Facebook page?
New Change Development.
Great. Okay then. So if you want more information, you can go to Chrissy's Facebook page. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, we have reached the end of our program today, but we will be back again on Friday, where we're going to be speaking about something really interesting, which is cyberbullying. Now, you may think this is not a big deal, but actually it's a huge, huge problem, and it's getting much, much worse. So make sure you tune into that. If you're a parent especially, maybe you can find out what's going on through watching this program and see if your kids are really safe. So join us then. Bye-bye for now.